This is the story of how a discarded Microsoft Surface from 2013 became an awesome 2000s era Windows 7 gaming machine. This is the first Surface model from Microsoft, which had an Intel x86 64-bit CPU. This tablet originally shipped with Windows 8 installed. The one I have here includes the optional fuzzy keyboard, and more devices should be fuzzy like this, but I didn't get the included pen with this. When I received this, it had already been upgraded to Windows 10. It runs okay, but try to do too much and it begins to lag a bit and tends to slow down. This has a 10-year-old Core i5 CPU, 4GB of RAM. I could try and install Windows 11, but it's not supported on this hardware. I'd have to do a bypass install, and I expect the experience will not improve. This is a machine past its prime. I could restore back to an original Windows 8 installation, so we can get a look at how it was when it was new, but with Windows 8 having no start button, I wouldn't know where to start. It would be like the Windows of days long gone, such as version 3.1, where you find yourself floating in a void, as Cathode Ray Dude describes.
Nothing to pin you down. The window is just floating here in this sea of color, and there's nothing behind it, nothing to get a grip on, nowhere to put your feet.
The version of Windows 3.1 I'm running here is not installed directly. It's running on a virtual machine called PCM, a cool PC emulator that emulates old hardware right down to the BIOS level, which brings up the challenge of installing an older OS on here. Surface models don't have a BIOS. They have the newer UEFI standard, or UEFI, making downgrading to earlier operating systems very difficult. Many thanks to 2W10 for uploading some ISOs to archive.org. ISOs designed to help downgrade the original Microsoft Surface. Thank you, you've given me the keys to get started quickly on this one. First, I'm going to try Windows Vista. This is one of the Windows versions that I missed out on at the time. To install Vista on here requires a manual command line process. First by using diskpart to prepare the hard drive, including the partitions needed for the UEFI boot support. Then installing Windows manually using the DISM command. Let the command run as it sets up Vista. I could have just run Vista in a virtual machine, but it's not the same as a native install, and running on top of Windows 10 on this machine just makes it a slow, unsatisfying experience. At the time, it was very difficult to run Vista properly, and often ran rather slowly. It's also hard to run Vista on more modern hardware. Drivers are unavailable, and later CPUs will crash Vista on a regular basis, the 64-bit version at least. Despite all this, I'm still keen to see what happens with a native Vista install on here. On with the install process. Everything seems to have installed okay. Then comes the difficult part. The UEFI boot partition has to be manually prepared using 2W10's included procedure. Most importantly, adding the BCD boot files in the final step. This then allows Vista to boot up on this machine. With Windows 10 gone and only Vista on here, it's fast, it's tempting and it's intriguing. But the lack of drivers, especially a working video driver, brings the fun to a halt pretty quickly. This is not the Vista machine I've been looking for. The game is not over yet though. Next, I'm trying 2W10's other ISO for Windows 7, an OS I'm much more familiar with. In fact, overly familiar with. I was running Windows 7 on my desktop until very recently. Every video on this channel was edited on a Windows 7 computer, even well into 2023. After manually preparing the UEFI boot partition again, I now have Windows 7 on my Surface Pro. With the Aero Glass theme running in all its glory, I may not have my old Windows 7 desktop anymore, but I still have Windows 7. Most things seem to work fine, especially the video driver for the onboard CPU graphics. The touchscreen works a treat. I finally have that Windows 7 tablet that I have always dreamed about. There are a few limitations. For example, there are no known working drivers for the Wi-Fi module inside. This is not a huge deal though. I'm not looking to browse the web on here much. And if I do need some internet, a small Wi-Fi dongle plugged into the USB gives me all the internet goodness that I need. Then, after unplugging it again, I know that I have an air-gapped machine with no chance of software getting past that. But what I really want from this is to run some games from the 2000s in convenience and style. The first game I'm trying is Machinarium from 2009, a wonderful tale of adventure with beautiful graphics. Originally, this was played with a mouse, but it works so well with a touchscreen. This is how this game is meant to be played. That's probably why this was later ported to Android. But next I want to push this tablet a lot harder and get some 3D graphics going on here. First, I'm going to connect a controller, in this case a DualShock 4. I'm using Input Mapper to translate the DS4 to an Xbox compatible controller and running the Windows 7 native Xbox controller driver. The game I want to play is the original Bioshock, first released in 2007, a game I've always been intrigued by but didn't get to play back in the day. The mood and aesthetics are surreal and wonderful, a masterpiece of style and world building. Though I'm running it here at the highest graphics settings and full HD resolution, and the frame rate is just not cutting it. But when dropping the screen resolution down to 1366 by 768, I get to keep the highest graphics quality with a much more playable frame rate. More importantly, I get to play the amazing Bioshock on my cool Windows 7 Surface Pro. If you have any suggestions for games that would suit this machine, especially as a touchscreen tablet, then let me know in the comments below. Until then, I'll be exploring the world of Bioshock.
Somewhere